I get this is a YouTube video, but for those of you that want like the answers right away, the topics that we're going to cover: key topics, chapter summary, and chapter video. The next one is consuming as much question content as you can. Fifth is rest. Please give yourself a break, listen to your body, but don't be lazy. You know the difference. For those of you that are from my other platforms, you can skip to this time period and you can jump right into my in-depth version of the steps. But for those of you who are new to what I'm talking about, this section's for you. I'm going to go over step by step how I was able to pass my 215 on the first try. I used Excel Solutions as my study course. Funny enough, I actually purchased the 214 life only course and I was still able to pass my 215 because of the study method. If there's going to be a phrase I keep saying over and over and over, is consuming as much question content as you possibly can. Why? Because these quizzes and exams are just going to recycle these questions but phrase them in different ways. They might move around a couple words, but they're the same questions. They're asking the same thing. They have the same answers. So as long as you can pick up what they're talking about, you're 100% good. Now you might be asking, I know nothing about insurance. I'm so bad at note taking. I'm not going to waste my time memorizing these questions. You're not memorizing these questions. You just become familiar with them. Like, I hope that makes sense. You don't have to memorize the answers. You'll just be able to pick up how certain topics usually gravitate towards other topics. And that's more than 10 times out of 10 the answer. The course that I was taking was built in 13 or 12 chapter exams. There's like 27 content total. In each module that you will go through, you will first see an intro video. That's going to go over everything of what the chapter is talking about. These intro videos will give you key topics. Make sure you are writing down those key topics because that's what's going to be quizzed. That's what's going to show up on your state exam. After you write down those key topics from the intro video, you need to skip the entire chapter and note take on the chapter summary. Why? Because you're going to waste time going page by page, taking note for note throughout the entire chapter. You don't need any of that information. The chapter summary is already doing that for you. It's a summary of the chapter. It's literally in the name. For those of you who don't know how to note take, I'm making another video on how I personally take notes and why it works the way it does for me. Now, you don't have to take notes like this. If you have your own way, that's 100% cool. But for those of you that need a way to take notes, I can walk you through how I take mine. By the end of these chapter summaries, you should have a pretty good idea of what the chapter is talking about, and you should be able to define each key topic that you wrote down. If you aren't able to define a key topic, this is where you will go back into the book, go back into the modules and find that definition. Why? Because it will be tested. I'm telling you right now, it will be on the exam. After you've got the key topics down, the next thing after the module is the chapter summary video. This is also very important because this is where you have another person talking to you about the content that you just learned, so it should make sense to you. You should be understanding what she's saying. Another good thing about these videos is that in some cases, they'll give you definitions that weren't in the chapter summary, and that will be on the exam. At this point, you should be pretty familiar with the topic that you're learning about. So now you're ready for the chapter quiz. And these chapter quizzes are important because, like I said in the beginning, the more question content you consume, the higher of a chance you will pass on the first try. So now you know how to go chapter by chapter in note take. So what's the next step? Excel has a pretty cool thing where it has exam simulators. It has a 200 question one, 100, and like an 80. This is where you'll really want to consume your content. Right after you take your course exam and you get your certificate, it goes over these chapters a second time, but this time you don't need to worry about that. What I want you to focus on are those quizzes that it gives, because it gives 200 question quizzes for each topic. So if there's a chapter in there you're not really grasping, you're not really understanding, this is where you need to be. I couldn't understand annuities for the life of me. So when I tell you I was in that 200 question annuity specific exam, by the time the exam came, there wasn't an annuity question that I could not get because I was exposed to so many questions about annuities. Okay, so boom, you got the chapters down, you got the quizzes down, you got the tests down. The last thing you need to do is go online and find an exam that is your state specific. Each state covers different things. Florida, for example, goes over annuities, Disabilities. Disabilities was probably like 60% of the goddamn exam. I wish I paid a lot more attention to disabilities because I was like, why would they test disabilities as heavy as they did? But they did. Thankfully, I still passed the damn exam, but holy crap, I was not ready for that. But that's why I say I didn't expose myself to disability questions. So when they asked me disability questions, I didn't know how to answer them. I still passed though. God bless. Your state exam will not cover the entirety of the chapters that you learn in Excel. Make sure you figure out what your state likes to practice. A good resource on this is TikTok. I went on TikTok and looked up Florida 215, and there was an account that actually posted free exam questions and answers. Ooh, if you're willing to spend some cash, and by cash I mean like $10. I'm not asking you to spend like $30. Go to learnexams.com. They will have your state exam. I typed in, I think, Florida 215, and it gives you real exams with the actual questions that they asked, with answers and rationales. So why that answer is correct for that question. And this is what I mean by exposing yourself to as many questions. When you're looking through real state past exams, you're able to see how they're actually structuring these exams. You'll be able to pick up on that pattern so quickly. Another good reason to practice long exams like that is so you can get into the habit of keeping your focus locked in on these questions for a long period of time. Okay, quick summary to where we're at. You know how to study. You know how to study the exams, and you know where to study. Another main part that I didn't go over was the structure, how you structure studying. Like, when do you actually study? So for my job, I work all day, 8 to 6. I dedicated at least 2 hours of my night when I got home from work to studying. I get a lunch break at my job, so I also studied during that time, but also when I got home, I was studying. Now, how long did it take me? It took me 2 weeks. I spent the first week just note-taking and trying to get as much of the content down as possible. That next week, I was studying the exams, and this is where I was getting a hold of any exam that I could. A 200 question one from here, a 100 from here, you get the point. I get that everybody's time is different, but my weekends especially, I really honed down on getting as much content material. Depending on the week, whether it was week 1 for note-taking or week 2 for studying, I spent my weekends diving full in. The entire day was just that. When I tell y'all I was locked in, I didn't do anything outside of work other than study. I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm just saying to get this down in the 2 weeks that I gave myself, that's how I did it. Now, you can take as long as you need. You definitely do not have to be as extreme as I was. If you want to take a good month to get this all down so you can actually live your life and not just be like tunnel visioned in the books, because it's hard. I'm not going to hold you. It is a hard thing to do. It's not easy. Do whatever you need to do to get it done. Just make sure you're doing this method, consuming as much content as you can. Question content. Another important thing I forgot to mention is actually having rest days. I'm not going to go too deep into this because it's a given. You need to rest. You will fire your brain. You will lose motivation if you're not giving yourself the proper rest time to be able to hold the information that you just learned. You're learning a hell of a lot of information in a short amount of time, depending on however long you're taking to study before you take the exam. Regardless, you need to rest. But don't rest too long because you will fall off. Stay on top of it and get back to it. During your study sessions, depending on how long it is, give yourself breaks. When it was a long study day for me, I gave myself breaks whenever my body was telling me to. Listen, if that meant 15 minutes of hard work and I'm like, God damn, I need a break, I'd give myself a good 30-minute break. Get right back to 15 minutes of studying, do a 30-minute break. Go right back to 15 minutes. You need to listen to your body as well, but at the same time, don't be lazy. You need to know the difference. How do you know the difference? If you know you're going to get right back on top of it rather than just dilly-dallying off because you're bored. I mean, of course you're bored. This shit is boring, but you should be able to hold yourself accountable. Another reason why it's important to actually take notes that make sense to you and actually understand this content is not just to be able to answer the question. It's be able to answer those questions that your client asks you. Because I'm not going to be the person, if I don't know the answer to a question, you know what? Let me get you to someone else who can answer that. I'm supposed to be that someone else. You're the one working for me. I'm giving you coverage. You're not going to be able to trust me if you ask me an insurance question, and as the insurance agent, I can't answer it. You telling me you don't know an insurance question, but you got a license? Yeah, hang up. So that was a big reason why I really valued note taking, even if it took like 2 hours. But I could only do that on the chapter summaries, not the entire chapter. It'll take you a year. I promise you, don't even try it. I have a lot more videos on my channel going over how to get your insurance license, how to note take, just like all that good stuff. So make sure you check out the other videos there, and I can definitely help you. There are also other resources online. I know everybody was talking about Insurance Queen. I personally never used her, but it helped a lot of people. So use your resources. You literally have the entire world at your fingertips. Look up online some tips. But yeah, that's the end of it.